Welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. For all of you who are already like, why are these people laughing before this even starts? So this guy in the left corner named Brandon, you're going to see him pop in and out like a whack-a-mole. Don't be discouraged by that. Do not be shocked. It's going to happen. We're hoping it's not. We haven't had an over-under from Vegas on this yet, whether it be 10 times or 20 times, but we're going to set the over-under at 10, and we'll see how it goes from there. So
I'll take the over.
I got 10 on the over.
He's going to take the over. Anyway, this is my very good friends from Belly Up Sports, Pinto, as he likes to be called, and we'll get to the Animal House references in a little bit. Billy and Brandon from Belly Up Sports. Gentlemen, great to have you on board. Belly Up Sports has been a part of the Expo for a little bit. You guys have not. You're all new to the event. And so we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But first thing I always want to do is, ask each of you, tell me about what got you started in fantasy football. How long ago, how many years you've been playing, just a little bit of background of what got you started in fantasy football. So Pinto, we will start with you.
Awesome. Mine won't take very long, right, Brandon? But so in 2004 is pretty much when I started. I played football and I tore my ACL, MCL, so I could not play. I was on the sidelines. And some of the other guys that were in, I was in GT classes. So some of my friends were like, you should really check this out. I was like, what is this? Dungeons and Dragons for football? They were like, pretty much. So I looked at it, 2003, 2004. Jumped into a league, didn't know anything about it, and just started drafting players. I knew I wanted LT because he went to SMU, right? Had to get my Texas guy. Drafted Dante Culpepper from the Minnesota Vikings. Antonio Gates, tight end, right? Musin Muhammad. And then there were a couple other guys in there. So if you go look at those guys, they carried me to the championship that year. Won my very first year. Got hooked, right? And it was pretty much like one of those things like in Vegas, like they want the new guy to win, so he keeps on coming back. Well, I kept on coming back. Translated that into college when I joined my fraternity, and we started doing leagues like with all of our fraternity brothers, all of our pledges, things like that, having to take shots in the middle of rounds. Person who drafted the worst pick had to take finish their drink, stuff like that. So I've been playing since 2004. Recently started Dynasty about 6 or 7 years ago. Redraft has always been my jam. That's pretty much it. Now my daughters and I watch all sorts of stuff. Nice. I've got pictures of them watching Field Yates like 4 years ago. Nice. Mike Clay, we've got the honor to talk to him. Marcus Grant as well. So like the fantasy community has been awesome to us, especially me, like everything that I've been able to do with it and the guys that I've get to meet as well. And like the experience and stuff. So like with Billy, he's played fantasy football for over 20 years. So I get to pick his brain every day. I know you've got like 40 years of experience, Bob, something like that. And so like having to talk to you right now, having you in my DMs now, like getting to talk to you, that's pretty awesome. So that's pretty much my story.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Brandon, who is already at 2. See if he can stay on and talk about his historical history of fantasy football.
Yeah, so when I don't remember my exact age. I think I was maybe an 8th grader in middle school. But it was the 2012 NFL season. It was the Doug Martin rookie year. And my dad, I'm a diehard Bucs fan, always have been. I was always into the Buccaneers, grew up watching them. And my dad had me join a league. And being the person that I am, the first time ever being in fantasy football, I didn't just draft. I did a whole bunch of research. I built an Excel sheet. I put, in middle school, did an Excel sheet. I put like lines for tiers, and it was a 12-team league. So I remember putting a line after 12 people and said, I need to get one person from the top 12 in each position, and then a second person in the top 24 from each position. I remember just doing that.
That's amazing at 8th grade, man. Good for you.
Yeah, and so I did it. I ended up getting like 2nd or 3rd. I had that like taste of like almost getting there.
That's important.
I don't know. Probably not. He probably won. He probably won. But yeah, so then I just that year I loved it, and I got into it. My dad did some leagues with him, then did keeper leagues like super early on. Year 2 or 3, I started in a keeper league already, where you keep like 3 to 5 players, and always go running back heavy. If you have a super good running back, always keep those guys. But and then at I think my senior year of high school, that's when I started doing projections, and my first time around, I tried it out. It gave me just the process, even though I wasn't very good at it in the beginning, just the process taught me so much, and it helped me figure out how to articulate thoughts or takes or find trends and stuff like that. And I've just been fine tuning that for this is year 5 or 6 now, for doing projections.
Awesome. And you stayed on the whole time. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your microphone. You're right. Don't turn it off. I don't know. Maybe. I will see. All right, Billy, tell us about your historical trek through the fantasy world. When did you get started in this wonderful? You said you've been playing 20 years, so you must have been like 7 when you started.
Well over 20 actually. Well, I'm 35, turning 36, but it was something my dad got into in the late 90s when I was pretty young, and so I had been around it as I was entering kind of my early teenage years. And the first time I ever sat and drafted a team alone, I was filling in for one of my dad's friends, and it was year 2000, so I was 12 years old. I'm from Iowa, so Kurt Warner and the Rams in the Super Bowl in '99, and so Eddie George and the Titans coming into the next year. I just picked for this guy. He had the number 2 overall pick. I took Eddie George and did pretty well with him, and so then I got the honorable knighting to be able to have the next opening in the league, and so I was in pretty quick, and spent most of the rest of my adolescent years challenging the rules of these old guys and, bringing them into the new century with PPR and flex positions and things like that. But one of my most painful fantasy memories was 2005. It was the first time I was ever in like a bar league, with my dad. We had separate teams, and Randy Moss had just left the Vikings and went to the Raiders. And I took a receiver with my first round pick. And especially back in those days, PPR wasn't even heard of yet. So running back was religion. And I went against it being a big Moss fan. And that was the first time that I spent the entire year in last place. And after that, I got a little more interested in mocking with my dad after that. And it's really just turned into, pretty much a big piece of my personality. If you know me, you've probably been drug into a fantasy league.
Nice. So a couple of you had the dads bring you into it. That's really cool. Good stuff there. All right. So guys have been playing for a few years, number of years, 20 plus for Billy. Tell us how you guys got this belly up thing together. How did you meet? How did this all come about? And whoever can speak to whoever wants to speak, but kind of tell us the history, because I know it's an interesting history that we've already been made aware of. So just anybody who wants to go, just tell us about Belly Up Sports, what it's about, and what you guys have been doing.
Sure. I'll take the reins right here. So, talking to these guys right now with you, Bob, is really awesome because I did not know that about Brandon. Knew some of the story about Billy, but it's kind of funny how like our stories kind of correlate all together and we kind of all wound up together. Mm-hmm. So like all of us, right? Like I was going to say me, but all of us has started fantasy football 4 times, right? What was it? 11 or 12? 5?
That's 5. You're right. That's 5.
For everyone that's watching, Bob called the over under Vegas.
Yeah, bet the over now. Hurry.
Yeah.
Jump on it.
Live betting with us. Put it in the comments.
Live in game. Live in game may have adjusted it to 14.
They just updated the line, guys. They just
it's up to 14. You missed out. You should have taken the over at 10.
But so we all kind of have been in fantasy football for a long time. For myself, like I mentioned, I did it in my fraternity, and so like kept my fraternity league going with a dynasty league. And over time, we did it on NFL.com. Got the app, and then every sort of, every Wednesday or Thursday, they would drop like a smack talk sheet or something, like who you were playing, all this kind of stuff. Well, me and my fraternity brothers really, really enjoyed that. Thought it was pretty funny to where we started doing it by ourselves. And then I started becoming pretty good at it. Everyone liked what I was writing, so I started doing that. Well, 2019, I was in the auto industry for over a decade. 2019, I had my first daughter, and the day I had my daughter, I put my 2 weeks in. It was really easy to be a stay-at-home dad then. My wife was blessed. She worked for Texas A&M. So I was a stay-at-home dad. Then COVID happened. after about 6 or 7 months of being a stay-at-home dad, after being in the auto industry, I had cabin fever, right? I was used to doing things every day. Right. Now I was not. So I looked for alternate things, and I really liked, fantasy football, but never really thought of it as an avenue. Found Belly Up through LinkedIn, I think, or something like that. Got a hold of Dan and Mike. Dan Mader, a previous guy at Belly Up, but Mike Brown, owner, and got in with them, started writing for them, started podcasting for them, started recruiting for them. Through my time looking through things, I found the great Billy Whitt. Just small comments here and there, but I just knew, like, this guy knows what he's talking about. There's, we see it all day, every day on Twitter. People say stuff, they do stuff, everything. Billy's not one of those guys. And that's something I gravitated towards. So I messaged him and was like, hey, man, you don't know me from Adam, but I'm with Belly Up Fantasy Sports. I want you to come with us. We're going to start doing some stuff. Let's do it. Billy comes on a board. We bring in a whole crew now, and we start doing Belly Up Fantasy Live. We do that for a little while, and we ended up parting ways. We come back 4 years later, as Mike has offered us now ownership of the company, Billy and myself. We come back very similar to how I knew Billy. Billy's like, hey, you got to check this kid out. His name's Brandon Ghabbour. I'm like, wait, what? What's his name? How do you spell it? I'm very bad with names. It's like Ghabbour. Like, I even asked around. I was like, I think I called him. What did I call you the first time I talked to you, Brandon? It was like Bill, like Brendan or something.
I think it was like, I don't know, Braden maybe.
Braden, yeah. I was
Brad.
Like, and I'm like trying to get this guy to come on, and I don't know this cat's name. How embarrassing is that? Because Billy's sending me all this stuff on this guy, like his projections, his stats, the wording he uses, the verbiage, the word tracks, his projections, everything. And I'm like, wow, this kid knows what he's talking about. And now I hear his story, and I'm like, it makes sense. So now all of us are here together for Belly Up. We do Belly Up Fantasy Live. We run the Belly Up Bowl, which Billy is the head of. He'll talk about that, I'm sure. But we're super excited to be at the Expo this year, to have a booth. This is all of our first times going. So, you got to treat us right, show us around. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. But that's pretty much like my gist of it. I know Billy and Brandon have a lot more to add to it, so we'll let them go.
Yeah, really. I was just on Facebook, in a fantasy football group, giving my advice, because I just realized how often, people take a piece of news and would run with it. And so I didn't comment a lot, but when I did, I was trying to just say, hold your horses a lot of the times to kind of help people not panic. And that's usually where I stepped in. And like Chris said, I just had a message from him. I think I sat on it in my other folder for like 3 weeks before I was like, is this real? And so I think when I messaged him, I was like, why me? And he was like, I've just been, seeing your comments. And I'm like, okay, well, I've been doing fantasy for a long time, but it had never occurred to me that maybe an opportunity like this might be there. So I jumped at it. I started writing start-sit articles for Belly Up, and we brought the servers down a couple Sunday mornings. So that's been a lot of fun. And, I couldn't be more happy just to be back at it. And Brandon, him and my conversation started over a debate over Devontae Smith that I was completely wrong about, but I always keep kind of a log of my hits and misses and try to go back and recircle back to people I talked to throughout the season again about certain things. So Brandon was one that wasn't about just that he was right. It was that he was like within a couple receptions, within about 20 yards, and nailed the touchdowns on Devontae Smith. And I was like, hang on, man, you didn't just get this right. Like, you basically had it nailed. Let's talk about this. What are you up to? So that's how me and Brandon got started.
Cool. All right, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of just solo. I have my podcast called Deep Dive Fantasy Football Podcast.
You got out during the talk.
Dang it. There he is.
Once I started projections, that's what started me on the podcast. So I've been doing that for 5 years as well. And my biggest thing was just putting out an episode about every individual team and breaking down every fantasy player on that team and stuff like that. That's kind of like my shtick on Deep Dive. And then, one day, Billy just reaches out to me, and I was doing a little something with the guys at Dynasty Rewind, but not anything too crazy. And he was like, hey, man, I want you to come out. I want to feature your stuff, bring you into this team, let's build something. And it was intriguing to me. And so, I mean, I didn't know Billy at all. I didn't even have information on what his comments were or anything like Chris, but I was just like, I mean, I'll give this a shot. So I just hopped on a call with them. And
at like 5 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, and Chris is a salesman. Billy's a super smooth talker. Like the way he articulates himself, both of them, I was like, okay, this could be something here. And then I just hopped in, and we've just been rolling since then.
Awesome. No, that's
it's
great
like the caveat that I always use with a lot of things that work out in my life. Nothing happens for a reason. Everything happens because it was meant to happen. And like the story, how we all met and how we all came together is like absolutely unheard of.
Well, the benefit of the internet and Twitter and all that kind of stuff certainly has helped a lot of this stuff, and for years, all of us, had to pretty much just know each other through that, right? Maybe you got lucky to live close to a couple people on Twitternet, but guess what? 4 years ago, now 5, I created the Fantasy Football Expo. Kind of was an idea just I had to bring everybody together, but also to educate and to help people learn more and be better. And so, the whole idea was to, open it up, make sure that it was affordable for anybody, regardless of what level they were at or who they were or where they weren't. I always said, this is my 22nd year since I started writing my consistency stuff. And, for years, I didn't know anybody. Nobody knew me. I think I finally, maybe after 10 years, somebody invited me to be in like an expert league. And I'm like, and I was Howard Bender, I think, or Greg Kellogg or somebody like that. And, as they say, the rest is history. Then I got invited to more and more and more. And then, all of a sudden said, hey, let's put this thing together. And here we are heading into the 2024 Expo. None of you three have made it before, but I know you've heard things, you've seen things. There's all kinds of stuff on Twitter. Everybody's talks about it all the time. I'm so blessed to have this wonderful marketing department called Everybody on Twitter who talks about it every day, brags about it every day. I rarely get to put my own tweets out about my own event because there's no reason to. But thank you guys for getting a booth this year. I know you guys will be excited to be there, but talk about, what you heard about the Expo. What are some of the reasons why you guys wanted to come or excited to come? Talk about, what drove you to now all three of you coming to the Expo this year.
So for me, at least, the big driving force behind the Expo, kind of like you mentioned earlier, we've all been in like the Twitterverse or like internet's been helping. This is finally a chance for me to meet my team in person, meet the guys that I talk to on Slack, via text, podcast with, actually get to hug them, shake their hands, drink a beer with these guys, eat some food with them, break bread with them. That's what I'm really excited about, because for me in my life, I'm like Brandon mentioned, I'm a salesperson. So like I'm always talking to people. I'm always interacting with families, things like that. And so the interaction part for me in this whole thing is very, very foreign. I would rather talk to you and look you in the eye than text or email, things like that. So this for me is huge. Like we've got 2 kids. We've got a 5-year-old and a 4-month-old. And so my wife is going to batten down the hatches because she knows, she's like, you got to go. You finally get to meet Billy. You finally get to meet Brandon and Mike and all these other guys. So go enjoy yourself. So that's one of the big things why I'm excited to go to meet my team.
Cool. Brandon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just a huge opportunity. I mean, Chris, being the guy that brought me into this, I've always kind of looked at it. Him as my mentor. I've always kind of rode in the back seat of whatever car he was driving along this thing, man. So we talk probably as much as I've ever talked to another man on the phone, but it's all been, positive progress and building something and having a lot of fun, just getting to know each other. So just getting the excuse to be able to get together is a big thing. And honestly, like I'm from Iowa, right? So things are a lot smaller down here, right in the heart of the Midwest. So like being a fantasy football guy, filling leagues and things have always been a little bit of a challenge just where I'm from. People might know about fantasy and yeah, they did a league once or they do one league or, things like that. So the leagues I do have tend to be full of a lot of the similar people. So I've been fortunate to meet some people through leagues in the Twitterverse and fantasy football folks. So kind of excited to just be somewhere where there's so many people that are into fantasy football, so much experience, so many different strategies. You get to pick these guys' brains and just be in an atmosphere that's all about fantasy football, other than the home league draft day once a year,
Right. Gotcha. Cool. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I ever saw about the Expo on Twitter was just a bunch of guys that I used to, whether it was be in share groups with or just go back and forth on discussions and stuff, see a lot of them taking pictures together, talking about, oh, it's so cool to link up, and pictures of just these huge crowds of people. And I was like, man, that's kind of cool. But I mean, who was I? I was just a college kid. Like, ain't no way I'm getting on a plane to go do that. But I'm really excited for the opportunity now. Also, because I feel like a big part of the whole Twitterverse and reaching out and building a following and stuff is just a lot of social engagement. And sometimes that's not something that I can put too much time into, but to be able to see people face to face and talk to people, and people actually get to know me. It's hard to get people to click on a link to a podcast, right. Because I always feel like, if they do that, then that's good. And that's how you get them.
Always seem to lose him when he talks, right?
That's perfect. I just have one question though. How do we get in the flag football draft pool? Me and Brandon need a team.
Oh, well, so Brandon, we'll get back to you in a second. But so anybody out there who wants to play flag football, if you don't have a team, just start something on Twitter. That's what a lot of the people do. Now you don't have to do it now because it is April 15th, but yeah, well, usually when it gets closer, you have people that'll start, taking Twitter and saying, "Hey, I'm available to play." A lot of them will joke around like my 40 time is 4.23, and
sure.
And I can bench 600. And
maybe somebody will need an alternate. I'll see if I can catch on somewhere and catch on with the.
But if anything, just come and have fun with it. It's a 5-on-5 team, but we have 8 players on a team because of potential injuries. But hey, be a coach. Be a get the 3 of you guys and get 3.
I've already claimed the Andy Reid position. I'm going to bring a bag of McDonald's with me. Sorry.
Bring your nuggets with you.
Yeah.
But it's just a good time. We started those little contests just because I said everybody's competitive, right? I mean, we got cornhole on Friday night at that party. Saturday we do the flag football before the Saturday party. It's just a lot of fun. Everybody kind of relives their youth. For those who are closer to the youth than I am. I won the cornhole tournament. That's the only thing I'm good at.
Ooh, all right.
That was 2 years ago. So I retired after that. I was.
So what are the stakes?
We hit the over.
We went the over.
1. I had 10 on it.
But the cool thing is, it's just a lot of fun, and a little bit of competition. It gets heated. There's no question because we're all competitive. But it's just a lot of good fun. We're gonna have a beer pong tournament at the Saturday party as well. We're hoping to get a company called bpong.com. They are now putting together national tournaments for beer pong.
I bought one of their original tables that folded out and you could lift it up, fold it up to like a briefcase. I have the shirt. I might bring it. Red, white, blue, bpong.com.
I think we're pretty sure they're going to get the owner to come in. For it. So they're going to run it. Trophy Smack, of course, will be doing all the trophies and all the belts and all the rings and all that kind of fun stuff. So just a good time. This year, we're going to do the sports betting Saturday as well as fantasy football Sunday. So 10 hours of education time, I call it, where you can learn from the smartest and best people. And hopefully we can get some of you guys on the panels as well with your specialty, whatever that may be. And that's what it's all about. So do you guys have any questions for me as newbies coming in that maybe you haven't heard an answer or just hadn't thought of, like, hey, Bob, I'm just wondering, what? Because a lot of people have questions and they don't ask. So if you don't ask, they don't know until they get there and like, oh, I wish I'd asked. But any questions for you guys for me?
I'm going to be the kid at Mall of America, man. I'm just going to be running around, mingling, taking it all in, and collecting T-shirts. That's my goal.
There's usually a lot of T-shirts. That's for sure. You'll get your Expo T-shirt as part of your thing. which are really nice. They're that dry fit, real soft. Love the shirt. Everybody loves the shirts. They're the favorite kind. So, but I got to get a belly up shirt, so we'll trade off there. Extra large, by the way. Anyway, so anything else you guys want to talk about?
So
what's going on at the booth? What's that?
I've got one question.
Okay.
So I'm like a super big introvert outside of the screen.
Okay.
What is the one event that I've got to make? If there's one thing I have to make over the weekend, besides just kind of mingling around, what do I have to be at?
You definitely need to be at both parties. Friday night party, Saturday night party, because that's where the best mingling gets done. At the expos, at the, the 2 days of the education and being in the, where the booths are and that, because of course you guys will have your booth and people will be coming to talk to you. But the Friday party and the Saturday party is where you just stand around, chat, go up and talk to anybody. You talked about Mike Clay. Mike Clay we hope will be there. Last 2 years, he's had plane issues and travel issues, and he hasn't made it. But he told me he was planning on being there. But, Bob Harris, Mike Clay, Brad Evans, Andy Barron, Dave Richards, Marcus Grant, Bob Harris, Howard Bender. Last year, Jeff Manns made it. It's everybody everybody's there. And every single one of them are so easy to approach and talk to. So go and, break out your shell a little bit.
Second part real quick. What's the timeline that I should frame off? So you say Friday night party. Do I need to arrive Thursday? Because I'll arrive Wednesday.
It depends on where you're coming from.
The great College Station, Texas, God's country.
Okay. So if you can get a flight, the Friday party doesn't start till 6:00, and if you're in the DoubleTree Hotel, it's literally 2-block walk. So,
I'm hearing lunch in the airport, Pinto.
But if you want to come early, a lot of people come Thursday night, spend Thursday night, hang out at the hotel bar. It's got a really nice bar there, and a patio that you can sit out, smoke cigars, whatever you're into. And so, that's a great time just to get kind of your feet wet of talking with people, because there will be, Scott Fish will be there. If name somebody that you follow or, whatever, then I can tell you whether they'll be there. But the only 2 people who don't make it is Matthew Berry, because he's on TV. And so the funny thing is he comes in for Hall of Fame game to be on TV with NBC Sports and then leaves town. And it's like, Matthew, just spend the whole week. And he goes, no, I have to go to the next game that's NBC's broadcasting. And I'm like, damn.
Now, I would be like in the show The League when the guy, what's his name? Kevin McCarthy meets Matthew Berry in the bar. I'd be like, is that Matthew Berry? I'm about to go buy the prettiest girl in the bar a drink.
Yeah. John Hanson's been there before. Doesn't come often, but he came a couple years ago. Maybe we'll get him back this year. Just a lot of great people, just so many good people. And, the best thing everybody talks about is just how easy everybody is to talk to. Everybody's approachable. The tough part is just getting them to have time to talk to you, because there's so many people, but if you see an opening, take it, just walk up and introduce yourself. That's how it all starts. I mean, I love telling the story about Lawrence Jackson, who 2 years ago was, driving a delivery van, doing videos in his van on his phone. He came to the 2021 Expo, met the people from NBC Sports. They hired him, and now he's one of the biggest guys on TV, right? I mean, everybody knows Lawrence. Everybody loves Lawrence. He's all over the place. Not saying that's exactly what's going to happen to everybody, but it just shows you that just come and make yourself known. Tell them who you are. Talk about what you do. Even if you're not looking for a new job somewhere, I'm not saying that because that's what you're about, but just talk to people. You never know. That's how you get people to come on your podcast. There's somebody you really wanted to have on, you just haven't been able to contact them or don't know how to, if you want Bob Harris or Marcus Grant or whoever, just they'll be there. Ask them, hey, can you come on? Yeah, sure. And that's what's great about this industry is that there are very few egos, and if there are, they aren't at our event. That's for sure. And that's what's cool is that we don't have those people that troll Twitter with their things. Even the fantasy receipt guys. Do you guys know who they are?
I don't. Who are they?
So
I know the account, but I thought you were about to drop who they were.
No, nobody knows who they are. I don't know who they are, but they've been at the Expo the last 2 years. They've told me. And because somebody made a comment about the Expo, and they actually made a positive comment about it. And they're like, oh yeah, we love it. And I DM'd them, and I'm like, you've been to the Expo? And he goes, oh yeah, we've been there the last 2 years. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, wow, that's ballsy, man. Because everybody hates you. I don't hate them. They don't say anything bad about me. But yeah, so they've been there the last 2 years. So now everybody's goal is to figure out who they are, So, but 750 people, but anyway, so even them, who, love to troll Twitter about whether or not you made good calls on stuff. It is what it is. So, but no, we're excited about you guys being there and looking forward to, coming, everybody check out their booth. I think, I don't know if we ever got to that question. So what do you guys got planned at your booth? Anything exciting, giveaways?
Cool Definitely going to have some swag giveaways, some stuff to take home, definitely handshakes, pictures. It's going to be pretty hush-hush right now because we have a lot of stuff that we're going to bring. Canadips is one of our sponsors, so we'll have a bunch of takeaways for that. Manscaped as well. Hopefully some other sponsorships by the time the Expo comes around, so we'll have a bunch of stuff to give away. But definitely thank you Canadips right now because they're leading the front charge for us.
What is the name again?
Canadips. So it's like a pouch, like a dip pouch.
Oh,
CBD as well. CBD is a Delta 9. It's CBD. It's THCA. Cool. So nothing that we can get here in Texas. So I don't have any on me. But when we come to Ohio, we will have a supply.
Nice. Okay. Because it's legal. All of a sudden, Brandon's just trying to get out. He's not even coming. Is he going to come back? Brandon, are you coming back?
But also for our booth, we will have Brandon and Billy answering questions, talking, obviously, anything like that. Really getting to know Brandon and Billy as well. Brandon does this whole, he's about to start his projections, like he mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. Tonight or Wednesday on our podcast for tight ends, we'll be going over his VORP. What is that? We don't know. He'll let you know.
Alrighty.
Little teasers like that. But yeah, our booth should be pretty fun. We keep mentioning this the first time we'll be there. So we'll be taking the lead from some other people and just kind of going with the flow.
Sounds good. All right. Well, gentlemen, I'll let you each kind of just, say your thing, who you are, your Twitter, you guys all got posted. Tell them about, Belly Up Sports, the website, Twitter, all that kind of good stuff on that. And then we'll go through each of you and then I'll take it out from there.
Yeah, so we'll also be doing Belly Up Bowl signups there at the Expo, so hit us up for that, guys. That'll be what I'm working on most of this summer. We're partnering with the Concussion Legacy Foundation, so we'll have a little of their swag for our booth as well, doing some awareness for kids and concussions and things like that. So our little way to kind of give back to the game of football for all the fun and entertainment it's given us over, majority of our lives, as we talked about earlier. So that's what we're up to. Catch us this summer. Every Wednesday night, Belly Up Fantasy Live, the three of us be going through whatever the hot topics are. We got a dynasty draft we'll be doing shortly after the NFL drafts here in a few weeks and kicking into the summer for redraft. So we're ready to rock.
Cool. Well, you know where I'm at. If you need me to come on, talk about Expo. Consistency Guide will be out in 3 weeks, so we'll talk about that as well.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be able to talk to people without getting censored, number one. And if anybody has any interest in my projection process or whatever, even if they don't want to figure it out monetarily, I do have a 50-page Word document that kind of explains my process. And I have a bunch of research studies that I do that help me identify why Josh Jacobs was going to be way worse last year and stuff like that. So if anybody has any interest, they can hit me up at Deep Dive FF, as you can see
That was so close.
Can't see it at all now, Brandon.
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty much the introvert of the group. I really don't talk too much on Twitter anymore. But you can always follow me at Aggie Kappa Sig. I have stuff coming out from the fantasy site, from the Twitter, or from the live site as well on Twitter. Pretty much just follow me at Aggie Kappa Sig if you want to talk movies, drinks, anything like that.
Right. So his Delta Chi name is not Pinto. They called him Flounder.
That's right. So going back to what we talked about earlier, the movie Animal House, there's pledges, right? And one of the pledges gets the name Pinto. Well, I was in a fraternity. My last name's Pinto, so I couldn't have that. Obviously, that'd be too easy. So they dubbed me Flounder, another one of the guys who was a pledge. But like Bob said, as long as it wasn't mothball.
As long as it's not mothball. Why is it mothball? Why not? All right, gentlemen, thank you again for being a part of this, ladies and gentlemen. The gentlemen from Belly Up Sports, thank you guys for being on. Everybody else out there, don't forget to follow. Everything will be after that. When I click this button, you'll see there'll be music, there'll be Twitter stuff to follow. TheFantasyFootballExpo.com. Get your tickets. Come check out these three at their booth for Belly Up Sports. For Chris, for Billy, for Brandon, I'm Bob Lung. Everybody take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.